The leaders of the endeavors are, some say, the bravest men and women of the River Realms. Such a leader is called a Vagrus.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Victus. We're going to check and give the first look to Vagrus. It's the prologue version, and we're going to read here the disclaimer from the developers. In this demo, you can play the Pilgrims of the Wasteland stand-alone story up until the 4th checkpoint. And also get a taste of the open world main campaign, create your own Vagrus, and play the first 25 turns. So wait, so we have here the Pilgrims of the Wasteland story up until the 4th checkpoint, and get the taste for the first 25 turns. We're not going to go all the way to the 25 turns, but at least we're going to understand what is this this about. It's story driven type of game in which you have a lot of dialogue. We will have to read a lot, and it is a very interesting story you're going to see. Vagrus is a labor of love created by a tiny team that dare to dream big with the support of an amazing little community. We're extremely grateful to all of those that help us along the way with constructive criticism. Vagrus is also a game that involves a fair amount of reading. As I said, if it is to be enjoyed and experienced, you would probably lose everything several times before getting the hang of leading your traveling company. Please note that although a large chunk of the content is accessible in the full game, the majority of Jarin that you can see on the chart is merely part of the world building. Play the intro. Comitatus, an armed travel company. Vagrus, a venturer, a vagabond, a captain, the leader of the Comitatus. So basically the commander of the squad, the Comitatus.
The River Realms, they call it. What a fine poetic name for something as rotten and twisted as our land has become. It was not always so. Long ago, the old empire, the noblest and most enduring society created by humankind, spanned almost the entire continent of Zerine, the cradle of man. But after several millennia of progress and incomparable achievements, inevitably, the empire began to fall into stagnation and decadence. Desperately holding on to their privileges and resisting change while trying to avert the collapse of the realm, the emperor and his theocracy took to measures that were worthy of true despots in cruelty. Subjugating weaker realms, enslaving whole nations, strip mining foreign resources, oppressing imperial citizens, war on several fronts, genocide. Eventually, the gods could no longer tolerate such horrors wrought in their name. Foretold by an abundance of divine omens, they descended upon the empire to right its wrongs. Thus, in a chain of dreadful events that became known as the Calamity, they annihilated the empire in a matter of days. The gods then finally saw what they had done in their anger and confusion. It is said that so much grief and shame filled them that they were broken and they left this reality, never to return. The continent and its inhabitants seemed dead, but at length survivors began to crawl out of their hiding holes and faced a land that no longer welcomed them. Arcane anomalies, the fallout of the Calamity, now riddled the continent, and people realized that they had to share their new home with changed and twisted creatures. Terrible beings entered through the cracks in the tapestry of reality and rose to rule over the natives. In time, these new powers rebuilt the fallen empire in their own image, and the River Realms, now godless and vengeful, reincarnated from the ashes. The inhabitants of the land, such as I, now eke out a living under the crushing rule of the new empire. The continent itself constantly resists our every attempt at building a cozy home for ourselves. As travel is dangerous, many ventures specialize in transferring cargo and passengers over bleak and deadly leagues of land. Others try to take everything of value from said travelers, or attempt to find buried treasures among the ruins of the old empire. The leaders of the endeavors are, some say, the bravest men and women of the River Realms. Such a leader is called a Vagrus.
Okay, so you saw the introduction here. There's plenty of stuff to cover here. This is an RPG, narrative driven RPG, open world with tons of reading. So if you don't like to read, this is not for you. This is called Vagrus, the Riven Realms. You can see here creatures of a distant planet, and I think this guy in the center, the red one, is the Vagrus, and here is his comitatus. Let's go for a new game. We are going to find and look here. What do we see? Select the game mode. We have two different game modes, Wasteland mode and Dissonance mode. Now, if you are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. I am Victor's Wargaming, uploading demos that I think are worth your time and I think are interesting. Demos that are turn-based, real-time tactics, real-time strategy, run strategy, military sims. I have a lot and a big repertoire of different war games that I also play, and I upload my gameplays and upload guides for stuff like combat mission, command ops 2, and all of the war games that are difficult to understand and complex. With that being said, make sure to subscribe. Let's get on to the video. The Wasteland mode is the way the Vagrus was intended to be played. This is cruel, harsh, and forgiving, and expect steep difficulty curve and little to no hand holding. And the Dissonance mode is the game mode that is tailored towards a narrative experience. Combat management and almost all other aspects of the game are less challenging. The result is a smoother difficulty at the cost of alignment, a setting causing a certain dissonance. Achievements are turned off, as you can see in this icon. Let me just go very quickly to options. I always decrease the volume of the music. Go to effects. Ambience are important for me. Narration. There we go. And let's go for Dissonance mode. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of the colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and levels sand stretch far away. From Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley.
Ah, yes, a Vagrus. What a profession. Daring and savvy, always watching the horizon, always looking for an opportunity, and of course, for what is best for his comitatus, eh? And you are a Vagrus too, are you not? Many of your kind have I seen in my long life as a vagabond. Care to listen to a story about your exquisite occupation, good master? It is a tale of woe and terror, but it is also a tale that is true, as I have seen it with mine own eyes.
Okay, several points here. One thing that I really like, I don't know why, but you know, when you see these still images, this still artwork, and there's something moving on the image. In this case, for example, it could be snow or it could be the stars on the horizon, but in this case the fire it has animation, you know, it has movement, but everything else is still. I don't know why, but I find this type of artwork fascinating. I don't know why. Okay, here he's asking us if we want to go for the Pilgrims of the Wasteland, which is, if I remember correctly, when we read the disclaimer, it is like 4 chapters or something, I believe. Let's do it. Start
Wise you
the
are, good
pilgrim.
master. My tale is of a Vagrus, such as yourself, but one whose fate was cursed and wrought with ill fortune. It all happened a long time ago. 10 years, maybe more. I was but a passenger, traveling rough roads and forgotten ways with this comitatus, south along the feet of the great mountains of the west.
Okay, let's start a Pilgrim of the Wastelands.
This comitatus I speak of had fallen under hard times. Perhaps it was due to imperial harassment or unfortunate decisions, or simply bad luck. Irafrons, saint of roads, does not always smile on us mere mortals. But however it came to pass, their coin was drying up, and their opportunities seemed few and far between. One of the last chances their Vagrus saw was to travel to the remote town of Scrapheap and spend their remaining funds to stock up on cheap scrap metal. This metal could be sold for great profit over in the east and south. It wasn't a bad plan, truly, but it was not without risks either.
Welcome to Pilgrims of the Wasteland, a standalone story for the Riven realms. It serves as an introduction to the setting and also a tutorial. It behooves you to read the tutorial text and follow the instructions to gain a better understanding. The icon of the map location can be clicked in the tutorial window to show what the section is referring to via the pointer. Note that you have to be on the right UI screen for the pointer to appear. Vagrus is an open world game. Due to Pilgrims of the Wasteland being a tutorial, it progresses along a narrow guided path in the beginning and opens up only later, after the core mechanics have been introduced. You can access the hotkey list by pressing F11. Okay, nice and clear UI, simple UI, but with my experience I can say that simple UI will always have some intricacies inside. I can do this, which is fantastic. This is the year 1097, month 02, day 11. Beautiful artwork here. Look at this. Urka al-Alabia. I think these are the days, week 2 of Albia. It's those are the months. Look how many months do we have here. Oh, so it's like 2, 3. It starts with Albia, I think. Oh, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Okay. We have supplies for 7 days. This measures the defensive power in crew combat. It is contested against the opponent's combat strength to define the chances of a success attack each round. Yeah, of course, we have battles here, and because this is an RPG, eventually you are going to find items, merchants, resources, you name it, all sorts of things. Just clean something here. I'm drinking a coffee. Yeah, I love to drink coffee when I do the videos. So chilling. This thing is the measure of offensive power. So we have defensive and offensive power, and very self-explanatory, those symbols here. Then we have the box that shows the maximum of available cargo space. So this is slots apparently. Well rested, a hand, measure of physical state of the comitatus as a whole. The well-fed, nutrition 7, max nutrition 9. So we will have to take care of food as well. Steady, morale. This is morale. And subservient, obedience. Obedience, I think it's for the Vagrus obedience, something like that. This is the perks. We need leadership perk is required to unlock. march movement points and the movement points. So these are the represent how far you can push your comitatus after the movement points runs out. So it's like a forced march. We see the map here. Scrap heap. Interesting that it has this. This also reminds me of um, Mad Max. On the campaign map, your comitatus traveling company always occupies a node and moves between. I like the. You can even do this. Okay. I like the text here. It's very pleasing to read. Well, it is expected because we're going to do a lot of heavy reading here. Moving along paths cost movement points indicated next to each path. There you go. Every in-game day, you have a number of movement points to spend before you need to camp. To move, click on the nearby node and select Move from the radial menu. You can select a node that is farther away. The MP cost of moving there will be calculated. So we have to move here. If we do this, we're going to use 6. So it says move, 6 movement points. Let's go. Oh, but it's fantastic because you see you have this events happening as you move through the world. And it is interesting because it says that it's going to be open world. Just for the purposes of the tutorial, we're going to have this linear path, but then it is going to open up. Most of the story is presented through interactive texts called events. Events let you make different choices at each step. Some choices can have a number of consequences, while others have various dependencies. Dependencies means that you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite, skills, perks, characters, and so on. To select a choice, click on it or use 1 to 9 to select the one you like. Navigate this event to end. So there we have it. We have the beautiful artwork here about what we're seeing here. So it says, I think you can, no. Having gone ahead of the column with a handful of scouts, you watch from afar as your comitatus slowly trudges along broken terrain, making its way south, ponderously among dormant geysers. All around you, the hills smolder lazily in the perpetual twilight. Are you all right? Javik's voice resonates with sympathy as he appears next to you on the ridge. You nod slowly, but do not look at him. You gaze, lost in the distance where ash cloaks the horizon and the towering mountains to the south and west. You turn to your commis and note his supportive smile. You and Javik have been traveling the realms together for years now. There is no person in the world you trust more than him, except perhaps yourself. I know you feel that your hands are tied, but like I said before, you made the right choice by leading us here. So we begin the story with our choices. Let's see. I will go for there you go. The first one. Time will tell, but I still have my doubts. It's a long shot, and you know it. Javik nods. True, but it's better than just giving up. The crew agrees too. That counts for something, no? We have here. We're going to go for. I will go for it does yes. Good to know that they still have faith in me as their Vagrus. They too have faith in you still, Javik says. It should not come as a surprise since you have known and traveled with most of them for years and years, some founding members of the comitatus you could trust with your life. But you have heard stories before about Vagri who have been abandoned for less. I believe Vagri is the plural. Times being what they are, Javik trails off. With Imperials cracking down on us independents more heavily than before, business is tough, everyone knows, and they appreciate your efforts to keep us afloat. Our plan ought to give us another chance. When the text in the event is highlighted pale blue, it means you have found a codex entry, which is you can click here and you go to the codex. Here is a collection of entries you find throughout your travels containing information about the world and inhabitants, aka the lore. When you have unread entries, the crystal on the cover of the closed codex emanates light. Entries are displayed in a list on the left. You can search entries and filter them. Information in the codex is supplementary. It is there for those who wish to learn more about the Riven realms. So Scraphead, for example, is a town on the edge of the Imperial territory just north of the Molten Tongue and south of the Forest of Shadow. Take a look at that. You can go down here and read the story behind these. You can see there's thousands of things here. Okay, the Calamity, the Dead Forest, the Emperor Valen, Shivaris, the Immortal Emperor, Protector of the People, the Deathless, so on and so forth. You can go for these, this, all. Wow, it has a very, very big lore. So, the plan, you talk your traveling company into these a few weeks ago. But with each step towards the Western Mountains, more and more of them start to have doubts, such is the way of the road. The plan involves a desperate attempt to squeezing a low selling price for metal bits out of an old contact of yours in the town of Scraphead. Stocking up on said metal by spending your remaining coin and bringing the cargo down south and around the Molten Tongue to Davin via Avernum. All of those names don't say anything to us because we don't know what is this world about. There is a shortage of metal in Davin, and you know several buyers would like to give a pretty price for your goods if you can only make it there before many others with a similar cargo. So our plan is to go to Scrap Heaven, take the metal, and bring it to Davin, which we are going to get a lot of profit from that. Such contacts are the boon of the long decades spent on the road, but even if Narbo, that villain, give you an agreeable price, the road is not without its perils, sneaking through the gap between the Dead Forest and the Molten Tongue. Let me give a sip of coffee here. The story is getting interesting. So it's not a path many Vagrai would risk, and of course, if this fails, you are out of alternatives. So this is take it or lose it. So it is an all-in situation here. Do you think Narbo will help us out? I like how they use the Latin Vagrus thing, the Vagri, Vagri, and how they use names like, for example, Narbo, like Narbonensis. They are using a lot of Latin names here. Do you think Narbo, which is the villain here, which is the one that sells the iron, I believe, will help us out? Ask Javik. One can only hope. I haven't seen him in years. If he is not willing, we must find a way. He has to help us out. He won't be able to pass up the opportunity to make us indebted to him. I think this is going to be better. Even the thought of selling yourself out in such a way makes you feel dirty. These are dark times. They call for desperate deeds, but such thoughts make me uncomfortable. To be honest, Javik rubs his chin, absent. I think it's this image, absent immediately. You have seen. Let's take into account that they are like walking in this in this wasteland. You have seen this expression of his too often not to realize he's using his sorcerer's talent to read your mind. Oh, look at that! He's a sorcerer, and he's trying to read our minds. Okay. Get out of my head, you know the rules. Apologies, Javik. Javik rubs his eyes quickly and looks away. You know how it is? It comes to me so naturally that sometimes I don't notice I'm doing it. Your thoughts were loud, Vagrus. I have not actually blocked them, you see. After joining your commentators 6 years ago, Javik proved to be an invaluable asset. Not only does he sense moods and thoughts around him, but he is also able to subtly manipulate others when he focuses his inner energies. It comes in handy when doing business. Then there are his other perks. A few times you saw him shatter the minds of men and beasts who tried to kill him. Not a pretty sight, but a very effective deterrent. Yet, because he's not a trained sorcerer, at least not in the traditional sense, his abilities are sometimes difficult to control. You have become accustomed to his impromptu thought scans, while others find it less bearable to be around him. For this reason, he has kept his abilities a secret for many years overall, but you can't keep a secret such as this for long in the close-knit community of commentators, especially not if you keep busting minds and knowing things you shouldn't. So there are only a handful of commas who put up with being near him for any length of time. But even so, he has not probed your mind in years. Certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Perhaps he's less in control now, which suggests he's more on edge about his whole trip. And then he lets on. Apology accepted, or just make sure it does not happen again. Yeah, this one. Just make sure does it not happen again. You grumble as you start to make your way down the ridge and back to the column. Yeah, we have to show him that it's not okay. It's not okay to do that, okay?
As we were coming up to the gates of Scrap Heap, this trash pile town of cutthroats and scavengers, we could see the vast mountain ranges of shattered Bivanda Thar looming ominously over the horizon, half shrouded in the gaseous vapors belched forth by the volcanoes in the far west. My companions prepared to do their business in town as fast as they could, not wishing to tarry in this notorious place.
Okay, so apparently the 6 points movement points that we spent were just to move here. Let's go and move finally to Scrap Heap. When a commentator enters a settlement, you can select from a variety of options, revolving around resting, resupplying, and trading. You also have the opportunity to initiate stories located in settlements. This time, only the story pane is active. Follow the only available story. So we have, this is interesting. So we enter this place with this huge lizard-like beast with one guy on the back of this beast, mounting this beast. So these are like cavalry stuff. They use this as mounts, perhaps. Pretty interesting. This is the Scrap Heap Tower. This place looks very dangerous, very shady. So we have here market. Now let's take into account that you can do this in the full version market, going to the Mancio factions. What is this Mancio? In here we just have the story Scrap Heap, the village of Scrap Heap, at the foot of the ever fuming mountains of the ancient Dwarven kingdom lies Scrap Heap. Look at that Dwarven kingdom. So this is a fantasy world. And I was not aware of this. This is a fantasy world. The town of scavengers, debris and junk is piled into veritable hills upon which the rickety homes of the decrepit inhabitants stand precariously. This is the mountain of the ancient dwarfs. I don't know if the Dwarven kingdom at this point is just like the ancients. They were part of the stories, but they don't exist anymore. So ash lingers everywhere, and the sun is almost always absent from the twilight skies. So this is like a volcano. So the volcano is always obscuring the horizon. Very, very gloomy, sad of a landscape here. Deals are struck day and night over the Precious metal scraps gather in the ruins of nearby Devendar Thar, while the Hip King oversees all from his dreaded tower. Shady eyes in soot-covered faces watch from under ash-laden awnings. Life is cheaper than iron here, some say. Track down Narbo. Can he be convinced to help us? Look where we... This is like a tavern with a lot of shadowy and shady creatures all over the place. You make your way to the Wraith Stash, a notorious watering hole tucked away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Hip King. So the tower is called the Hip King, okay? But not quite under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, which makes it perfect for Narbo and his little operation of honest merchants. This Narbo now, you're getting it, right? Um this is a man that is going to smuggle illegal stuff, basically. Which makes it perfect for honest merchants. Apparently, the knave is not only alive, but has done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking only Javik, you leave the comitatus to the care of Titus, your quartermaster, while you are gone, while you're negotiating with Narbo. Ash is flitting from the black sky as you cross the street and nod to the bouncer of the Wraith Stash. You give him your sidearms quietly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce them. Yet they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger. And of course, I think the dagger was hidden. And of course, they have no idea what Javik is capable of shouldn't it come to scuffle. Not that you expect such a thing, but with Narbo, you never know. Though you have told your crew that he and you go way back, the entrepreneur is a capricious and manipulative man with whom you did not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? So he has a grudge with him, so perhaps this is not going to work. Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles and a lamp at the bar illuminate the common room. Shadowy faces turn toward you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large hip lizard on display. There you go. Narbo is sitting at a table in the back. I think this is Narbo, with his bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at the wall behind him. Make your way. Walk over to the bar. Sit down at one of the vacant tables. Let's make our way. Confident. Now, I'm really enjoying this story so far. I don't know you. I'm really enjoying this. And I'm really looking forward to